Somebody asked me about today about shadow work and does it, when does it stop and how long does it go on for? It's a very valid point, actually. That's a difficult one because you'll hear the word shadow work, death of the ego, can't remember what the other one was, healing trauma, past life, ancestral trauma. This is really part of it, because most of us are used to the third dimensional old way where you go into a psychiatrist and it's childhood trauma and that, it's about as far as you go, but it doesn't seem to fix anything because you're not fixing it on a soul level. That's the problem. And another thing, it's very difficult to answer because remember, it depends on the soul. Because first of all, you're going to address what you need to address first to get you through anything is this life's trauma and baggage and programs you've brought up with. Oh, you're silly, you can't do it, you're not good enough. Your parents, that's what you indoctrinated with. We came in with that. Don't cry, be this, and of course when we get depressed, think positive, block it out. We always learn to block and suppress our emotions. So shadow work and the death of the ego is going to be different to different souls because it depends on your evolution, on your soul, how much baggage. If you're just woken up for the first time, remember, you've got many lives. So it depends on those lives, if any of those were incomplete as well. If you've got trauma there that needs to be healed. First of all, to work through it, some people have got hardly any trauma in this life. They've worked through it. They processed their emotions as they went, so they don't have as much. So it is an individual soul thing. And no, they don't give it all at once to you. There's no way as your whole soul, it's too much for you. Even other lives, some of them they won't show you if you're not ready to, because you'll be upset about it. It depends on your consciousness and where you're at. The death, or they say the death of the rebirth, they call it, the death of the ego, where you actually, it's almost like you die again, you see yourself dying again, you're reborn. You're reborn almost. So you actually go through it almost like a death process, and you can visually actually do it in a way, visualize. You actually look, you're dying and it looks like you're going to die, but it's not. It's that old self or that ego, that's you shedding, is dying. So yes, the shadow work can go on for a long time, but it's not like traumatic. It's not like when you go to a therapist and, oh my gosh, because you're in that state of mind. Because you see it in a very different perspective when it's shown to you in your meditations, right? First, I would say to start with it, you need to go for a regression because some of it you won't come through. So it's very important to go for the past life regression because your soul will take you to lives that are important and it wants to show you. First of all, you've got attachments. If you've carried other souls, some of us have carried other souls with us into this life. So you've got either an attachment or a soul, you energy, right? We are pure energy and consciousness. So what happens is, sometimes in a previous life or whatever it is, we didn't let go when we died. So we took on someone else's energy, which is their pain or their heart, or if you had a soulmate or something in a previous life and you mourned and you wouldn't let go of them and they couldn't let go of you. So sometimes actually a part of that person's soul is a fracture. Your soul's not whole because you've left a part of your soul in a past life, or you're carrying a part of somebody else. They followed you around, or even they have actually, if you go watch his regression, somebody else has followed you. So you've actually had the soul manipulating you forever. So if you go for a past life, those things that are really important will get shown to you. And then you give it some time, you go for Akashic Records, and it's any more what they will do because you have to ask. It's free will, same thing. They're not going to fix it for you. You've got to seek as a soul to become whole again and want to, so whatever your purpose is, if you want to be whole again as a soul. So when you leave this world, you are done all your stuff, cleaned your karma, your rubbish, your attachments, your thing, and you are free soul. So you can go up and you become more enlightened. So it all depends on what you go and ask. What do you seek when you go for that regression? I want to seek to heal your entire ancestral trauma, all trauma in your lineage and your lives. You want to end it. You're tired of this. You want it to end now. So you want to clear it all. Clear your soul. When your soul leaves this planet, I'm a whole, healed soul. So it really is also what they will answer the questions and whatever you ask. They're not going to lead you. It's not like a mommy teacher sort of thing. So your soul will show you. Sometimes it'll show you, look, you're more powerful than you realize. I'll show you good lives as well. Look, you're far more powerful. You've had wonderful lives. You were many things. Even when people do their astral projections or remote views, if you're not focusing on something like me, you just sit and meditate and no intention and poof, you're gone. And you end up in Egypt and you keep seeing Egypt or something else. It's because, that's you viewing a life a parallel life, or if you want to call it a parallel life, because it's all at the same time. Everything's happening now. If you understand there's no past, present, and future, there's only a now. So all those lives, you're living, like your soul's living out different lives in different timelines. So you start seeing them. I've seen many lives. I've dropped into myself, wow. So I've seen many of those lives, and then I went for regression. I don't need to see that, I know that. And you start seeing more. You start, you're ending up in these places and planets and who knows. So some will come out in that. And then you go for Akashic Records. They will tell you, okay, you need to do this. This wasn't finished. They'll clear it and heal it for you. And then they'll work on that past life, or this life, say you died before you finished this purpose. So then they'll tell you what all you need to do is, do this or say that or work on this now, and that will complete that, because that life was not completed. I did something very interesting. I discovered I'd carried, it actually made total sense. It was a real wow for me when I went for a regression. One of the lives I was going through, at the end, the woman said, something. I said, something's wrong. And, well, at the time, the husband that I'd lost in the First World War, he was very angry when he died, and he hadn't left, so he was still around. So we cleared that, and I said, no, something is still wrong. And I didn't know what was wrong. So they called in help, and it turned out that I had carried a soul with me, this poor person, through this life. I hadn't let go. It was a soulmate, my soulmate, or whatever, and going way back. It was ancient island times, I remember. Because when I saw him, I was like, oh my gosh. And it was so strange. It was very traumatic for me, very sad, because I had to let that person go. Because we were very much like this, and I had died fairly young. And he just couldn't move on. He mourned and mourned and mourned, and I didn't leave. So what I had done, we'd carried our souls. In fact, it hadn't let go. We'd been carrying each other through many lives. So I kept on looking for this person in this life, actually exactly what they looked like. When I saw this person, I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, because I kept searching for that person in this life. He was trying to wake me up, saying, well, look, hello, it's time to let that person free now and give their energy back. So when you do your own shadow work, when you sit at home and it'll come to you, you'll just, say you get triggered by something, then you realize, oh my gosh, okay, it pops up. When it's ready, it'll just come up. You'll realize, wow, why did that upset me? Or you'll get a flashback, or you ask, okay, anything else, because you do it. So you must keep working on yourself. That I need to heal, I haven't let go of, that's restricting me. It's not serving you. It's not for your highest good to hang on to baggage and beliefs and, hurt and anger and all that nonsense. So you work through it. It's up to you as a soul. You work through, you want to forgive yourself, forgive everybody, that you've hurt, and things, obviously the ones that'll become quite clear to you. But there'll be stuff, I was blown away. I sat about and did a meditation. And all of a sudden, I asked, is there any more clearing, anything that's restricting me from manifesting that I'm using? Maybe there's something I didn't realize. There was a block I had, that's stopping me from manifesting or reaching something. And all of a sudden, I had completely forgotten. They took me, and next minute I went right back, and I was a child in grade 1. And there I was, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd carried that. It had stuck in me for so long, and I was like, okay, but before you can let it go, you need to understand it and see it. So you can't say, okay, it doesn't serve me, let it go. They won't let it go if you haven't seen it and understood or released it. So I was like, okay, it doesn't serve me anymore, let it go. And I was like, why isn't it going? All right, okay, show me, I'm paying attention. So then I looked at it, and I relived it. They showed me the story. I was like, oh, wow, I felt sorry for this little girl. But I'm older now. It's not like, oh, shame, poor me. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't realize that this had impacted me. So you release that. So it can keep popping up. Who knows? A good test to know if you haven't cleared and if you haven't got things is whatever triggers you. If something upsets you, you always say, oh, they're making me angry. It's him. Why are you judging me? You doing this, you doing that. You're always angry at other people. What they are is purely a mirror. So if something upsets us, it's like holding up a mirror. We've got to see that, that's how our soul tries to show us. If you're angry at somebody else, they're making me angry because they said this or he did that. It's not about them at all. It's about you. That is something you haven't cleared, haven't let go of. It's whatever it is, whether it's you haven't got enough self-worth, you don't love yourself or not, whatever. It's a matter of accepting yourself. And when you go through all these things and you ask and you see your life, and no matter what traumas you've been through, it's like sitting there. It's not hurtful in a way, because it's like watching a movie. So it'll be shown. They'll show it to you in such a way. It's like a life review, and you'll think, oh my gosh, and you'll laugh, because you will realize you were never a victim. I mean that. You were like, oh wow, I did that, or I agreed, or I consented, or whatever. Oh my goodness, really? Okay. Wow. And you actually laugh. You think, oh my goodness. It gives you a whole new perspective. But it's how much you want to let go. And then it lets you rise up to unity consciousness and love. And then you look at things so differently, because you realize no matter who they are, even if they're playing the dark, they came here for a purpose. That's their soul. That's something they're playing out. Or you can watch people, and it's fascinating watching what unfolds and how people behave. And you think, oh, that's interesting. That soul chose to play that or do that. And you're able to see that baggage that they're not able to, because you've been through it. You're able to see, okay, it's not about me. They get angry with you, realize it's not about you. When someone gets angry with you, it's about them. It's about them. So there is no answer to when it ends. It all depends on how much you've got to clear. And look, this is the first time Earth is rising in thousands of years, since Atlantis times, that we're raising in consciousness and we're getting up to, at the moment, the last thing I heard, the scalar reading, which is the life force energy, the average human. So if you're looking at the average of the human population consciousness, we were sitting at 230. That's a frequency, the average of the average. And we've got up to get to unity consciousness, love consciousness. Every person on this planet needs to rise to 500, above 500. So we're halfway there. But there are souls on this planet holding much higher consciousness and vibration, much more enlightened. So there are some holding very high. There's some here. We've got some in very dark, dense. So we're getting there. And as people shed it and we go up, they wake up, they'll understand. They remember. Which I'll do a video about that, which will help people as your DNA activation, to activate your DNA, because you're currently using 2 strands of your DNA. And you've got a lot more. And that gives you that'll jump you up a lot. So you activate all your DNA and your cells and things like that, and get a light bath. Laurie Ladd does that one. I think Tim Weil did a good one on DNA activation, and I did one on activating all your cells, which transmutes all your illness. They actually start vibrating and working properly like they should, the energy. So, yeah, it's amazing. And what it does for your health is unbelievable, what you can fix and heal and everything. And this has also been tested scientifically. It has papers to back it up. I actually saw it. I shared one on my page on Facebook, where they were saying science has shown that your thoughts can change your DNA. No lie. Actually can. And our DNA holds everything. It's like a massive computer chip. And this is why they're collecting it, because Google want to use it, actually, because they realize that their mega computers, there's no amount of gigabytes that can store as much data as your DNA. Our DNA is a supercomputer as far as storage. It's like the massive computer. That's fascinating, and it does. So that's why you've got to clear it, because all that trauma. Remember, also what I say about clearing, people think they're clearing ancestral trauma. That's in another body. Because when you carnate into a different body. At the moment you're in this body, you're holding this DNA's ancestry, like, now, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, that sort of thing. So yes, you will clear your DNA, the memory, you're going to transmute and clear all that. So you're freeing all these ancestors. What you do when you clear your baggage and you do your shadow work and heal your trauma, you're healing you're setting all those cells free. You're setting everyone free. Your children, your grandmother, your mother, you're setting your entire lineage. You're clearing all that trauma in this timeline. So if everybody does it, perfect. It's cleared. But yeah, obviously past lives you were, not in this body. This DNA is not, it's irrelevant. But you clear this, you do the shadow work now and do the trauma and do your DNA now. You're clearing this whole lineage. You've now set and cleared it. So no one else that carnates into this DNA will hold that trauma, because it's held and stored in your DNA. So that's why they say ancestral trauma. It's passed down through generations. So you will free all your coming up generations, and you have children. That ancestral trauma, that's memories and trauma held in your DNA, will be cleared. You are not passing this down to some other poor person. So yes, it's really worth doing it. for that good, for the greatest good. You're setting your children free as well. So this is why I went on that path. I thought, I'm leaving this world. This must end with me. I don't want my children having trauma. And I want, you want it clear. And I did all that healing on, in this forgive, whatever. Doesn't mean they have to forgive you. That's not your problem. If they're not able to heal yet and forgive you, that's irrelevant to you. You as a soul can call them in and set them free, and you forgive them. Some people are not willing to let go, but you can cut those soul ties and contracts and agreements and promises you made in this life or as a soul. You can break those. So from your side, you have set them free, and when they're ready to release their stuff, that's not your problem. So that's what it really is, and you are reborn. It's like the ego is the hardest thing for a human to get under control, because it keeps wanting to pop up. Your mind and your ego, wow. Even when you meditate, I say to my higher self, it starts, don't even, okay, right. Higher self, take over. Shut the mind off. Quieten the mind. The mind be quiet. So the mind must be completely silent. Put the mind out the way, put the ego out the way, only truth. And that's when you get... So your visions and your trips are not going to be infiltrated by your thoughts and your perception, because we think, we have our own views and narratives of, that's wrong, because we think that's a bad thing, so we're expecting that to be bad. So then how do you know if your perception is not interfering with the reality? But if you push the mind and ego out, all you've got is purely what's there. That's it. And then you're going to get a much more truer perspective. It's not clouded by judgment or perception of your vision of whatever you're seeing, whether it's other beings or whatever they are. So that does help a lot. But the ego, you've got to keep it. It's a constant. It's like being mindfulness. It's like, okay, whoopsie, don't start. Don't let the ego. Try and stay present. So it's a matter of you realize, okay, and we all make mistakes. I do sometimes, because what we forget to do is we're trying to be this. We're learning how to get back to that state of higher consciousness, and then we'll start. You say the family instance. You're used to being that person because you've been it so long. And then you start talking to your kids and you start trying to tell them what to do. You think, the 3D again, because you're trying to tell people instead of letting them be there and learn. That's where they're at. And let them, that's in their own time they will get there. So it's a constant work. It's a constant self-work, self-improvement. And because remember, you were eternal. That was my thing. I thought, oh no, hell this, bugger this, I thought this was bad. I'm not coming back to this. But then when I got my whole life shown to me in review, I was like, oh, wow. It was all perfect. And some of it wasn't perfect, but you would think was horrendous and trauma. It wasn't. It was perfect. It was like, oh, my gosh, it all made sense. It's like, oh, wow. Wow. I chose it. And it taught me more compassion and empathy. And so I could relate and understand and have empathy and compassion for anybody and forgive anything. And some beings have done horrendous things to me. But, I just, okay, whatever. You've done it. It's in the past. It's happened. I forgive you. Bye-bye. That's it. But it's not happening anymore. So you take your power back. And that's what they say as well. You take your power back as a soul. Take control of you. You have now control of your mind. Your physical body you can manipulate. Change it. Change your DNA. Heal yourself. Get rid of your cancer. Heal other people. Whatever. Depends on what you're seeking. So there is no answer to that. And I told you there are people I'm getting coming on, a psychic, another psychic, very connected, been since she's a child, and also has a lot of contact with ETs and stuff. Another woman who's a psychic and healer and does Akashic Records. She also does animals as well. She's coming on. We might have to do more than one live with her, depending on what people want. So we'll cover maybe just the Akashic Records, and she can give us an example of what you get and see, and past life people, da-da-da-da-da. So there's a lot of people I'll have coming on. Jen's going to come on for people that want to know about twin souls and soulmates, because that's all she specializes in and does that on a higher perspective. So she will go through that, and she's got a book on that. So there's people I've got coming in, yes. So I'm busily scheduling. One of them was very busy. They're only free next month. They'll be able to do a live. But they don't have TikTok, so we might have to go live on their YouTube channel. And then I'll notify everyone well in advance that we're going to be doing a live covering this, and it's amazing information. It's future technology, it's everything, it's amazing. So that people were really found mind-blowing. And then, you're interested, you can go look up the rest of their work and follow their videos. And so you'll get to see these people. not all of them have channels, because they, as I say, they're doing healing and other things in Akashic Records. They don't have channels. It's not like talking out. So, and they can give you their details. It's up to them, and their pages, or if you want to follow them, whatever. Everyone's looking for something different, you see. Depends where you are. So I'll get people coming on, past lives, we'll do this. I've got another one to talk about. There's so much to talk about. Wow. I see everyone running around saging their crystals every time they use them. I think it's quite funny. You don't need to sage your crystals every time you use them. When you buy them online or from somewhere else, yes, you don't know those energies and who's put what into those crystals. So before you use your crystals for the first time, you clean them. And you'll know when to clean them again. But you don't need to sage them and sage, and every time you do your crystals and sage everything. That's to get rid of negative energies if you think you need to every now and then. Also, our houses aren't built the way they're built. They should be round, because energy doesn't go in a square like that. So our houses are not in the right shape, so energy can't move through your house. So also it helps to get energy moving, like open your windows and doors, air as well, flow, crystals. Yes, if there's dark, dense energy, or as people say, a spirit stuck here from another world, that's when you use sage to remove them, if you don't know how to send them back to yourself. If you're able to send them back to yourself, you sit down, you tap in, and you start talking to that spirit. And you ask them their name, and you be nice, and you ask them how you can help them, and you tell them. Most of them, believe me, will very happy to go back. They don't want to be stuck here and, stuck in someone's house or trying to jump into a body and, because they haven't got a body in them all. They actually would be very happy when they realize, they're not going to be in trouble and judged, and they are light, and they're happy to go. Very happy. I've had communication with other beings that are very negative beings, not even from this planet. But, when they drop in, I wasn't aggressive, and I was, I know what they were doing while they were here, because I dropped in there and they were keeping an eye on me. So I saw them, and I was like, yes, why are you here? And I also said to them as well, look, a lot of these beings are also against their will. So I told him, he's stuck there. He's happy he can actually himself evolve and get out of that situation and not go and connect back into that. Same with ETs. They're able to connect, if they would choose, back into a higher, more evolved, enlightened beings, and not stuck in a very warmongering planet or negative beings. They also, it's just a soul and a body. Doesn't matter what body it's trying to be, or it hasn't got a body, it's irrelevant. So when you leave this, you'll see. You could retain your energy, your light body. It's like an imprint. Character, it just gives you away. And your vibration as well, where you're at. If it's angry, you can see the color of your energy. And then that's it, consciousness. Your mind, thoughts, everything. That stays, you're you. That's why I say you don't realize you're dead, because you're not. It's like, well, I'm not dead, I'm you, I'm still me. You're thinking, you're still... So it's so strange, but the body is not, it's like, oh, it's just lying there, and it's like, interesting, yeah. All right, people. So I'll give you enough warning when I got people coming on. I'm interviewing these people. They've agreed to come on live, and we'll go through all of these things and help and advice, but bit by bit. So I've got to make arrangements, and I want to give you at least 3 or 4 days notice, so people then are able to plan to go to watch the live, or they'll be able to watch it the next day on YouTube. Or if they can't come on TikTok, I'll tell people we'll be going live with this and that, discussing this on this channel, and I'll share it so people are able to watch them. But there's great information I am planning on sharing and showing you who you can follow, where you can find the information to look for yourself. If you're interested in this, go and follow that, where you can watch all the past lives. And it's fascinating watching these sessions, where you can follow these people to learn about scalar energy, frequency, because they can read it. There's even machines now. We don't need technology. That's what they're not telling you. You are the technology. This plate, we're still using technology, to read scalar and to send frequencies to healing, which they're doing now to Fukushima. We are able to do that. We are able to harness full life force energy. We are life force energy, as you would be here. That's it. You are. But so it's our intention, and if we're able to focus it, and we're able to concentrate that life force energy, we can send it. That's our Reikis. We can send that healing to something, or whatever you're focusing on it. I mean, I've had someone already that's, I'm not going to go who it was and what it was about, but a person I was a bit skeptical about, He had a channel, and I dropped in to see. But it was my fault because I had a perception that I didn't trust 3D. It was just it was an assumption. I was, down there at that time. So I was thinking, yeah, I think you put in here infiltrated. So I dropped into. So of course I'm thinking of him and him being very telepathic and connected and in this whole thing, kind of almost like one of these. They call them Space Force soldiers or whatever you want to call it, secret soldier program or whatever they are. And I suspected he was, one of those sort of thing. Put in. So I dropped in on him. So he picked it up, and I'm in my thoughts now, thinking, yeah, right, you whatever. And he was annoyed. So while I was sitting in my room, he took a candle, and he's not even here. He's, who knows, in America. And I'm sitting there, and my candle went flying off my bedside table next to my bed. And I said, touche, fair enough. It was, and I was like, okay, right, fair enough. I just assumed. And I had no right to assume about something about you. Make an opinion based on 3D without knowing. And it's a judgment too. So what? It's not my path. If he's playing the dark, it's his soul's path and it's his soul's choice. As souls, we all have a choice, and not to manipulate or interfere. That's their journey and their thing to learn. But it was funny. You're able to do these things. People are able to levitate, teleport. I mean, there's still original people, Aborigines, that actually in front of you they can vanish. You can do it because they haven't been poisoned and taken inoculations and all this rubbish into the system. So their chakras and all their things are working perfectly fine. They've been connected since their lives. It's been tradition passed down to them. They've talked to the spirits. They've seen them. We've just been disconnected. So they are far more advanced on being able to manipulate their energies. And they don't have this thing, oh, you can't do that. Because we're taught in school, oh, no, you can't, just become a doctor. No, we're taught to, we've got so many false programs and restrictions, and it's also, we believe that because people said, oh, no, you can't do that, go and get a good job and do that. This is all that go as souls, and that's it. All right, people, I'll upload this and I'll give you a heads up. I've got to chat to that healer tomorrow morning because there's 11-hour difference between myself and her about coming on to do the Akashic record. She's very happy to do it. So tomorrow morning we're going to chat and work out how, so we can get her onto TikTok, sort this whole thing out, and then a time, and then we'll plan it, and I'll give you a heads up saying, right, we're doing a live on this day, all about Akashic records and going into them and everything. And then, you